Good evening, friends. It gives us immense pleasure to welcome you all on this webinar with Nilesh Bhai. First of all, wishing everyone a very, very happy, prosperous, and healthy Diwali. We are already in the Diwali mood. As just Nilesh Bhai told, we have to carry our kurtas. We are already in the Diwali mood. And so as the Indian team is also in Diwali mood. And so as the market is in Diwali mood. So Alpha Capital is also in Diwali mood. We have done so many webinars, but introducing Nilesh Bhai is a very, very difficult task because everyone knows him. If you ask Mr. Narendra Modi who's Nilesh Shah, he knows him. If you ask Salman Khan who's Nilesh Shah, he knows him. Everyone knows him, so it's so difficult to introduce a person like this. But yes, I'll give my effort. Nilesh Bhai is in this industry, is a stalwart of this industry. He's been in industry for almost 3 decades, over to 3 decades now. Uh, he has he's currently the managing director of Kotak AMC. He's a member of Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi. He is been associated with capital markets and managing funds, including fixed income, equity, real estate, local investor and global investor for almost 3 decades. He has held leadership roles at Axis Capital, ICICI AMC, Franklin, ICICI Securities. Uh, Academically, he is a gold medalist, chartered accountant, and also a merit ranking for cost accounting. There's a very short introduction, but yes, everyone knows him, so it's difficult to introduce Nilesh Bhai Shah. Just last point, Diwali is an festival where we all exchange sweet boxes. But considering the health of our country, we are becoming the diabetes capital. So we thought this Diwali we will exchange a box of knowledge and presenting Nilesh Bhai Shah to everyone as our Diwali box of sweet. He is the sweetest fund manager of the country. With these words, over to you, Nilesh Bhai.
Thank you, Nikhil. Very good evening to clients of Alpha Capital. Wish you all a very, very happy and joyous festive season. If we today look at India, you almost instantly go back to Birbal ki kahani. Akbar Raja told Birbal to make a line smaller without touching it. Make a line bigger without touching it. And Birbal drew a small line below to make the line above look bigger. India is doing good from a growth point of view. This is visible to everyone. The infrastructure which we had before 2013 is almost getting doubled by 2024. Airports will go from 70 to almost 200. Electrification of railway will go from 21,000 kilometers to 58,000 kilometers. We will have lesser number of diesel trains in India than America. Highways will go from about 82,000 kilometers to 165,000 kilometers. Port capacity will go from 1,400 million metric tons to 2,800 million metric tons. Metro lines from 5 cities and 250 kilometers will go to 27 cities and 1,850 kilometers, not necessarily by 2024 because there is a delay, but let's say by 2026. When you build road, port, airport, power, electrification, that creates infrastructure which can facilitate business. So one big constraint on our business infrastructure has been pushed behind. Have we reached nirvana? Answer is no. We still have many hurdles to cross. For example, when you deal with compliance burden in any business, it is cumbersome. Many of our processes needs to be improvised. But that's work in progress. Now, if you build infrastructure, you require talent to create business on it. In the 50s to 90s, our talent from IIT, IIMs, chartered accountants used to go abroad. which is why India has become world's largest remittance country. We get more than $100 billion a year from Indians who are working abroad. Today, the same talent is staying back in India. When we exported talent like Sundar Pichai, like Satya Nadella, like Shantanu Narayan, they started managing Fortune 500 companies. Very recently, Shantanu Narayan of Adobe was in India, and he said, if I was growing up in today's India, I wouldn't leave Hyderabad to go to US. There is opportunity here, which is why talent is staying back. Now, talent and infrastructure can create wonders, provided it gets capital. Many of our generation are working today because our parents didn't have money to give us for starting business. And we were not adventurous enough or entrepreneurial enough to start business without capital. So we went for jobs, services. But today, if you have a business idea, there is a vibrant private equity and venture capital system to provide capital. Stockbroking was dominated by Mumbaikars, Gujaratis, Marwadis. Who would have ever imagined that two brothers from Bangalore will create India's largest stockbroking company? It has happened in front of us. Today, India's largest explosive company operates out of Nagpur. City after city, town after town, entrepreneurs are emerging using capital provided by private equity and venture capital flows and the infrastructure built by the government to create growth. Is there anyone who is doubting India's growth? Answer is no. The IMF and World Bank believes will become third largest economy by 2027 or 26 or 28, depending upon whom you hear. The British institutes are saying that you will become by 2032. कितनी जलन से ये ब्रिटिश इंस्टीट्यूट एक्सेप्ट कर रहे हैं कि जिस कंट्री को हमने गुलाम बना के 200 साल रखा वो हमसे तो आगे हो ही गया, but he'll become third largest economy in the world. जब वो लोग कह रहे हैं कि 2032 तक भारत दुनिया की थर्ड लार्जेस्ट इकोनॉमी बन जाएगा, there is no doubt in my mind that we'll achieve it well before what they are saying. Now, there is almost consensus that India will do well from a growth point of view. This is the journey of $3.7 trillion economy becoming multiple times in days to come, in years to come, in decades to come. But China has also grown much faster than India. Their stock market hasn't delivered return like India. So could it happen to India that country grows, but stock market doesn't like China? Well, in China's GDP growth, debt played an important role. Their debt to GDP ratio is several times higher than India. Indian growth is coming with prudence. It's coming with very little amount of debt compared to China. Second, our GDP growth is converting into corporate profitability growth because 4% of GDP is by and large corporate profitability. More importantly, these profits are in the companies, in the managers who are well versed on governance. In China, they had an entrepreneur called Jack Ma. He'll be something akin to our Narayan Murthy. He was suddenly removed from his company. In India's case, that is not possible. In China, there is very difficult to argue against government. In India, we can say whatever we want to say against government. In China, while there are courts, you can't take someone to court easily. In India, we can take anyone to the court. The governance standards of India is far better than most emerging market peers. And the most important thing which is happening is green transformation of India. Now, there are cities in India which are most polluted. Delhi, Mumbai, the big capitals of India are most polluted cities in the world. That's absolutely unpardonable. But as a country, we have remitted lowest per capita carbon emission in the world. Yes, we do burn coal, we do burn stubble, but still, on a per capita basis, our carbon emission is lower than any other country in the world. This combination of growth, governance, and green, the 3G, gives confidence to investors that India is the market to invest into. Now, the question remains, at what valuation you buy India's story? But thereafter, they would like to buy at lower level. Many a times, those lower levels don't materialize. In the past, this trade was working out because FPIs were big dominant factor in our market. वो बेचते थे, हमारी मार्केट गिरती थी, वो खरीदते थे, हमारी मार्केट चलती थी. But now, thanks to people like Mukesh Bhai and Nikhil Bhai, we have developed domestic industry base, domestic investor base. पहले जब मार्केट गिरती थी तो हम लोगों को फोन करके बोलते थे, डरिए मत, एफपीआई बेच रहा है, बट ये खत्म होने को आया है, ये खरीदने का समय है. आज जब मार्केट गिरती है तो मुकेश भाई, निखिल भाई मुझे फोन करके कहते हैं, नीलेश भाई डरना मत, हम लोग अपने क्लाइंट को कन्विंस करके पैसा भेज रहे हैं, ये सब गोरों को साफ कर देना, उनके पास एक शेयर मत रहने देना. The counterweight has come thanks to domestic mutual funds, thanks to mutual fund distributors, thanks to local investors, and which is why that previous trade of Gora selling when they wanted to sell and looking to cover back at lower level is not working. मार्च 20 में जो बेचा 20-25% ऊपर लेना पड़ा. अक्टूबर 21 से लेके जून 22 तक जो बेचा वो भी आज ऊपर में ही खरीद रहे हैं. So our market has become far less volatile compared to many emerging markets thanks to this domestic participation, and also more importantly, our long-term growth story. Talent, capital, infrastructure creates powerful growth, creates journey from $3.7 trillion to multiple times ahead. Growth, governance, and green creates powerful incentive for investors to stay invested in India for long term. And domestic investors are coming together to make the market less volatile. Put together, this is Goldilocks, this is Amrit Kal. Now, are there challenges for India? Undoubtedly, yes. Never say never in the life as well as in the market. We cannot become complacent about growth. ग्रोथ कोई भगवान ने दिया हुआ वरदान नहीं है, उसके लिए मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी, काम करना पड़ेगा. पिछले 20 सालों में हमने यही काम किया है और इसीलिए आज महाराष्ट्र उतना जीडीपी रखता है जितना 2005 में पूरे भारत का था. आज यूपी और उत्तराखंड का जीडीपी उतना है जो 2001 के भारत का था, और तमिलनाडु, गुजरात, कर्नाटका 2001 के भारत के बराबर है. ये 6 राज्य 20 सालों में वहां पहुंच गए जहां कल का भारत खड़ा था. अगर हम लोग इसी तरह मेहनत करते रहे तो ये 6 राज्य आने वाले 20 सालों में यहां से भारत को 5 गुना करते हुआ देख लेंगे. ये आज के भारत के बराबर पहुंच जाएंगे, 6 राज्यों में भारत 5 गुना हो जाएगा. And then there are 23 other states which are also working. So as long as we don't become complacent, as long as we don't take growth for granted, as long as we don't score self goals like burning stubbles, I think India will achieve growth, governance, and green. Domestic participation will make India a low risk market, and the talent, capital, and infrastructure coming together will create our Amrit Kal. Will there be minor speed brokers on this road? Answer is undoubtedly yes. US interest rates are now 5% plus. If they go further higher, then obviously there will be some correction in our market. Oil prices are in double digit. If they go to triple digit because of Middle Eastern geopolitics, then certainly our markets could correct for a while. But these are all shorter term road breakers, speed breakers. They are not going to make a U-turn in our journey. In fact, Indian economy can be correlated with the way Indian team is today playing in the World Cup. Our batsmen are playing, our bowlers are bowling. KL Rahul as a wicketkeeper is not giving impression that he is a part-time wicketkeeper, not full-time. Fielding led by Ravindra Jadeja is very impressive. If you have to find a fault in today's India team, we really don't know. The only fault probably was that why did we keep Mohammad Shami on the bench when in 3 matches he has taken 14 wickets? Be the case as it may be, Indian economy and Indian cricket are probably both moving in right direction. Yes, we will lose 1 or 2 matches here or there. Yes, there will be concerns like 0 for 3 wickets against Australia. But eventually, our team will pull their efforts and we will win the game. We will win the World Cup. As an investor, it is time for you to ride this journey. We have seen many a times people try to time the market and lose the opportunity. I think we are at a stage where every correction is a great opportunity to invest into India growth story. And I will only say one thing. If my father is not alive today, but if he was alive, I would have gone to him and said that, Papa, when India was transforming, when all these multinational companies from Nestle to Glaxo to Colgate were offering shares at a throwaway price, if you had gone and bought them, I would have retired. I would not have need to work. And my father would have told me that, देख बेटा, हमारे जमाने में न CNBC था, न ET Now था, न इकोनॉमिक टाइम्स था, न मिंट था, तो किसी ने बताया नहीं कि कैसे इन्वेस्ट किया जाए. सेकंड, मुकेश भाई, निखिल भाई जैसे डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर भी नहीं थे जो लोगों को समझा रहे थे कि इन्वेस्ट करो. तुम्हारे जैसे फंड मैनेजर नहीं थे जो वेबिनार पे आके कहते थे कि इस तरह इन्वेस्ट करो, इंडिया ग्रोथ स्टोरी पे भरोसा रखो. तो ये सब चीजों में हम इससे मिस कर गए. I would have forgotten my father saying that I would have forgiven my father कि कोई वांदा नहीं पापा, ठीक है, मैं अब काम करूंगा. But imagine 25-50 years down the line, आपके पास आपके बेटा बेटी आएंगे और कहेंगे कि पापा, जब इंडिया की ग्रोथ स्टोरी बन रही थी, जब वो 3 ट्रिलियन से 30 ट्रिलियन डॉलर की इकोनॉमी बन रही थी, तो आपने क्यों निवेश नहीं किया? आपने क्यों यहाँ वहां उछल कूद करके ट्रेडिंग किया? आपने मेरा फ्यूचर क्यों फ्यूचर्स एंड ऑप्शंस में बर्बाद कर दिया? आप तो ये भी नहीं कह पाएंगे कि हमारे जमाने में जी बिजनेस नहीं था, CNBC नहीं था, ET नाउ नहीं है. आप तो ये भी नहीं कह पाएंगे कि मुकेश भाई और निखिल भाई नहीं थे, नीलेश भाई नहीं थे. आपके पास कोई एक्सक्यूज नहीं रहेगा अपने बच्चों का सामना करने के लिए. सो अपने लिए ना सही, अपने बच्चों के लिए, उनकी बेहतर फ्यूचर के लिए, प्लीज बी ए पार्टिसिपेंट ऑफ इंडिया ग्रोथ स्टोरी. बीच बीच में झटके जरूर लगेंगे, बट स्टे इन्वेस्टेड. I think India is truly in its Amrit Kal, and everyone who participates in this growth story will eventually benefit. With this, I'll end my talk, but happy to take some questions.
Thank you so much, Nilesh Bhai. I think the kind of information which you have given about Amrit Kal, about 3G, the growth story, the governance, green, talking about valuation, covering every aspect and explaining the points with such fine examples, and especially the cricket and everything. I'm sure investors are loving it. And, in fact, it's already 20 minutes. I think I can listen to you for hours. The way you explain things is phenomenal. And I think the numbers which you give I don't know how you remember those. Those are very, very great numbers, and it helps in building the confidence. And let's hope India wins the World Cup. And like Rohit Sharma is the captain of Indian cricket team, you are the captain of Indian asset management industry, and I'm sure with guidance under you, investors are definitely going to invest and make a lot of money. So thank you so much, Nilesh Bhai, on this. So what we are going to do, Nilesh Bhai, based on feedback from our clients, we have put together some questions which me and Nikhil will ask for next 15-20 minutes. And then we will open last 15-20 minutes for the audience questions. Now, Nilesh Bhai, we are in this Diwali week, and Diwali is a time when people want to try investments. They want to know what is the outlook, where should they be investing. Now, Nilesh Bhai, if we talk about last 2 years, market has not been so great. If you look at October 21, Sensex was at 61,000. We are at 65,000. It's only a gain of 6-7%. So last 2 years, investors have really not made a great return despite corporates doing well, despite GDP growth happening. And the reason, of course, there's a lot of global uncertainty. Last 2 years, we have seen Fed hiking the rates. We had Ukraine war. We have Israel-Hamas war. US banks collapse. My question to you, is the worst over, or is there something else which you think can play out? Can we expect next 1 year after this Diwali to be phenomenal?
So मुकेश भाई, कल क्या होगा ये तो किसी को नहीं पता. आज रशिया यूक्रेन थर्ड पेज में आ गया है फ्रंट लाइन से, बट क्या वहां पे कोई दुर्घटना हो सकती है, क्या पता. इजराइल हमास के बीच में घमासान जंग छिड़ी है, क्या वो मिडिल ईस्ट में स्प्रेड हो जाएगी? Who knows? It is not in our ability to predict future. And even if we try, we'll be right by luck and wrong by design. What is in my hand is my asset allocation. How do I react to events which have happened? For example, Corona was the most ferocious period. हम अपनी life की चिंता कर रहे थे, but that was the best opportunity to invest. I had no control over Corona, but I knew when the markets corrected, this is the time to buy. So let's not waste our time trying to predict future. We can all make reasonable guess and estimate, but we can't predict future. What is in my hand? When my estimate goes wrong thanks to some events, I can change my portfolio allocation to match the events which have happened. So अगर यहाँ से लेके आपको लगता है कि
Hello, Nilesh Bhai. Can you hear him, Mukesh?
Yeah, I can hear you. I think some network.
No. Can you hear Nilesh Bhai or?
No, I cannot hear Nilesh Bhai.
Okay.
Some network.
Maybe his internet is weak. Let's wait for a second.
predict करने का नहीं है, but I can react based on how events have happened.
That's very true, Nilesh Bhai. I think adjusting asset allocation is the best rather than having a prediction on the events in future and then time it. Hello, are you there, Nilesh Bhai?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. Your video is blackout, so I just thought if so. Given this war, do you think that impact of the war on the market is over, or there is some deep impact still left, so that we can modify our allocations accordingly?
So I was just adjusting my bandwidth. Hopefully now video will be back.
Sure, no problem. Should I repeat the question?
No. I heard about the war and its impact.
Yeah. Is it over, or there is still deep impact in line to come?
So Nikhil, when war is fought, it is never fought with rationality. It is always fought with emotions. It's very, very difficult to predict how emotions will behave. Logically, there was no sense for Hamas to go and attack Israel. They knew retaliations will happen. It doesn't make sense for Israel to retaliate in the manner in which they are retaliating in Gaza. Ideally, both of them should sit on the table and sort out the issue in a manner, thodi, le de ke, mandveli kar lo, which is what we will say. But then wars are never fought on rationality. It is always fought on emotions. So it's not in our control to predict what will happen. But we can analyze few things. Why are we worried about war? Because one, it can impact oil prices and it can impact supply of oil. Thanks to the American intervention, we believe chances of war escalating into other countries is minimal. Second, thanks to America lifting sanctions on Venezuela, which has higher oil reserve than Saudi, and which is capable of pumping up oil into the market. Saudi is now not letting oil to go beyond triple digit. They are keeping it at $80, $85. So both supply and price pressure for us is sorted out, which is why our markets are ignoring war. Tomorrow, if war spreads and in turn impacts supply or price, there will be impact in our market. Can oil prices remain in triple digit forever? Answer is no. Experience has suggested that moment oil prices go higher, alternative sources emerge, alternative energy is discovered. So we believe if war spreads and market reacts, that will be great opportunity to buy.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, Nilesh bhai. No, I think, investors have been concerned, and thankfully, with the US intervention, it seems like a localized event, and let's hope it doesn't spread so much and crude stays in control. And yeah, you said that, it's difficult to predict what is going to happen at the geopolitical events. And, one should be staying invested for long term. But investors being invested, we always want to understand the global dynamics and what is the impact which will happen. Last 2 years, Nilesh bhai, has been a period when US Fed has been hiking the rates. And I think all the pain has been coming from there. Interest rates have moved up, from 0 to 5.5% in the quickest way. And when you're getting 5.5% in US dollar in deposits in US, all FIs, everyone is preferring to take the money back to US, right? And I think that's creating a global liquidity challenge. Now, what's your view on the Fed rate cut? In the sense, you feel the rate hikes are done. When do we expect the rate cut? Now, when the rate cut happens, will we see huge FIs flows coming into the markets, and will that lead to huge rally for the markets? Because that's what is market trying to figure out.
So Mukesh bhai, Fed was raising rates because inflation was higher. They were trying to control demand by making the cost of money higher. Now interest rates are higher because fiscal deficit is very, very high in US. At the beginning of the year, they said we will have $1 trillion fiscal deficit. Now they are saying we'll have $2 trillion. This supply, this endless supply of US Treasury is not getting absorbed by the market. So ये करेला और नीम चड्डा ऐसा बोल सकते हैं कि पहले तो फेड रेट हाइक कर रहा था इन्फ्लेशन कंट्रोल के लिए, इसलिए करेला बन गया, और अब इतना सप्लाई करके आपने उसको नीम चड्डा कर दिया. Global investors will take a longer term view. Today, while US retains AA plus rating, their debt to GDP ratio is 125%. $33.7 ट्रिलियन का डेट है. पिछले डेट सीलिंग लिमिट जब बढ़ाई तब से लेके अब तक $1.5 ट्रिलियन डेट खड़ा कर दिया है. In the month of October alone, they have raised $500 billion. तो इस तेजी से अगर आप डेट रेज करेंगे तो ऑब्वियसली ब्याज की दरें ऊपर जाएगी. And we have seen countries like Vietnam, their 10-year yield is lower than America. तो मुझे लगता है कि yes, as India, we need to be watchful about our external side. We have large trade deficit and imported oil, and hence rupee should behave in an orderly fashion around fair value. But my feeling is that part of the rising US interest rate is also a function of the deteriorating credit quality and excess supply of US Treasury.
That's true, Nilesh bhai. Thank you so much for those insights. Jumping to equity market, the flavor. Nilesh bhai, first to cover, what is your outlook on equity market and what do you expect the equity markets to give return from here in the next 1 year? Just to also add with that, if you can cover like the example which you mentioned, the mistake which India did of missing Mohammad Shami in the first few matches. So what is the mistake which equity investor is doing and being happy with that 12, 13, 14% return? Who is that Mohammad Shami that equity investor has to look and increase the return to 18, 19, 20?
So, Nikhil, by the mistake which investors have made is to look for 1 year return, is to book profit when things go in their favor. The cardinal principle of investment is let your profit run and book your losses. In most investors' life, they have allowed their losses to continue and they have booked their profit. When you are investing in equity, you don't invest with 1 year view. You invest with longer term view. Every Indian company has capability to become Mohammad Shami. Sabka time aaya. You need to build a portfolio of companies which are a play on different sector, and then just stay invested with it. Some of them will outperform, some of them will underperform, but stay invested is the most important thing. And many investors, end up booking profit early. They don't put sufficient amount of money in market, and that's where they generate lower than potential return.
Thanks, Nilesh bhai. And I think I completely agree with you. Staying invested in the market is important, and not booking profit early is also equally important. They miss on the whole growth story, which you explained in the beginning, a multi-decade growth story for India. So hopefully our investors will take lesson from this, that they need to stay invested. Now, talking about Mohammad Shami, because people understand cricket, and it's a fantastic example. The challenge which we are seeing is also on the valuation side, because it's creating a lot of confusion. Of course, we want to pick up opportunities where the returns are better. We have seen a phenomenal rally in this financial year. If we talk about the returns, Nifty has gone up by 11%, but a big surprise came from mid cap, which has gone up by 33%, and small cap has gone up by 42%, and micro, the new big category, it has gone up by 50-60%. Now the valuations, because of this rally, whenever you have this kind of rally, the valuations are definitely going to be expensive. And when the valuations are so high, it becomes difficult to allocate money. You emphasized on asset allocation. So from an asset allocator perspective, what will you suggest, in the sense, what do you think where the valuation of different investment opportunities is, and where should investors be allocating?
So Mukesh bhai, सोना तो सोने के भाव पे ही मिलेगा, पित्तल के भाव पे तो नहीं मिलेगा. Today people will buy gold even though it is at 18% premium to international price because of tax incidence. I'm saying that large cap equity is at a 4% discount to its historical average. Now, obviously, historical average is not market price, but I'm saying that 4% सस्ता इक्विटी खरीदने में लोगों को लगता है वैल्यूएशन महंगा है, बट 18% प्रीमियम देके गोल्ड खरीदने में किसी को तकलीफ नहीं हो रही है, धड़ल्ले से बिक रहा है. So beauty is in the eye of beholder. And I was meeting with one global investor some time back, and I told him that on a 1 year basis, India trades at a premium to other emerging market peers. His reply was that Nilesh bhai, nazariya badaliye. On a 5 year basis, India is the cheapest emerging market. Why are you tom-tomming this 1 year, 1 year, 1 year? Think long term. I have $100 billion to manage. Can I invest on a 1 year basis in a market? I have to take 5 year, 10 year, 15 year. So we need to overcome this challenge of valuation on a 1 year basis let's look at valuation on a 5-year basis, 10-year basis.
Nilesh bhai, on top of, I'll add on this. Since you said, of course, one should not be looking at a 1-year return, but let's say if you look at even independent valuation metrics like P ratios and all, which is simple to understand, Nifty is currently at around 21, your mid caps are at 25, 25, 26, small cap, micro, they all are relatively expensive. So what do you think? 25, 26 is not an expensive valuation. Is it good to invest at this valuation as well?
So Mukesh bhai, there is a chorha in market. कहीं पे रेड सिग्नल है, कहीं पे ग्रीन सिग्नल है, कहीं पे येलो सिग्नल है. The red signal is in smaller caps, micro caps, mini caps, SME exchange. As you correctly mentioned, 25, 30, 40 के PE पे वो सब ट्रेड होते हैं. When you come to mid caps, and I'm saying that smaller mid caps and larger small caps, they are more like amber zone. Some things are expensive, some are not. The large caps looks reasonable because it's at a 4% discount to its historical average. Now people are looking at past performance. अरे एक साल में small cap में 40% बिना, large cap में 11 बना, तो चलो small cap में डाल देते हैं. But भाई, now you are buying small cap at a premium to large cap. That's going to have impact on your future return. So we recommend investors that look, this is fair value market. Please put equal allocation to equity. If there is some cash in your hand or some liquidity in your hand, please keep it because you can invest on a systematic transfer plan over next 6-8 months. More importantly, try to be overweight large caps and larger mid caps rather than small or micro or mini caps because valuations are in favor of large and larger mid caps. Now, will it deliver return tomorrow? Answer is no. But over a period of time, we have seen सस्ता खरीदे तो अच्छा है, महंगा खरीदे तो आपका टाइम होराइजन लंबा करना पड़ेगा to get return.
That's so true, Nilesh bhai. Friends, I'll request if anyone wants to ask any question, please post them in chat. After finishing our question with Nilesh bhai, we will take all the questions which you post in chat. Nilesh bhai, you rightly pointed out, when you about your meeting with the global investor that on a 5-year basis, it still valuation looks quite attractive. So that's the thrust on the earnings. Now, given the situation where we are, we have next year, we have election lined up. So there is going to be definitely a lot of volatility on the earnings of the corporates, which is quite uncertain. That phase of election year itself is uncertain, and the outcome of election result is also uncertain for many corporates who are government contract based or indirect effect of government. So it's how is the earning trajectory situation for the next 2 years, 3 years, basis on which we are estimating that valuations are good in 5-year basis.
So one, as I mentioned, our profit to GDP ratio is about 4%. If GDP grows, by and large, profit will grow. Now, it's possible that some year it may fall to 3%, some year it may go to 4.5%, but on an average, in a block of period time, if GDP grows, profit will grow. Second, when we meet on a bottom-up basis with companies, they are super confident about future. Everyone is seeing capacity utilization upwards of 70-75% as industry. They are seeing free cash flow generation and they are investing for future. Not only local market is growing, but they are also participating in the global growth story. Put all these things together, are we looking at a profitable growth on the back of sustainable GDP growth? Answer is yes. And hence we become positive for the economy. When Maruti Suzuki started, how many cars they would have been selling? 10,000, 15,000. Today they are at almost 20 lakh cars. That's the kind of growth. Now, is 20 lakh the peak? Answer is no. One day they'll be selling 1 crore cars. It's possible. It's visible over a period of time. So that's the kind of growth we are looking at, and hence we believe it is time to be invested on a longer term basis.
Sure, Nilesh bhai, thank you so much. Let's hope Maruti ends up selling 1 crore car, and the infrastructure picks up and the pollution stays in control. And because with high growth, the environment issues also comes up. But I'm sure government is doing phenomenal
हाँ,
work.
मुकेश भाई, अगर वो पेट्रोल डीजल गाड़ी बेचेगा तो शायद वो 1 करोड़ पे नहीं पहुंचेगा, 20 लाख भी नहीं बिकेगी.
Okay,
If he reinvents into hybrid, electric, or hydrogen fuel or something else, who knows?
sure.
तब जाके वो 1 करोड़ पे पहुंच जाएगा. सो कॉम्प्लेसेंट नहीं हो सकते कि मारुति ने 10,000 बेची थी, 20 लाख बेच रहा है, 1 करोड़ बेच ही देगा. जी नहीं. तो मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी अपने आप को कि वो उस काबिल बने 1 करोड़ गाड़ी बेच सके.
Fantastic. I think it's a very good example for us, every one of us, to learn ki, we can't just look at the past growth. One has to innovate, invent, and rebuild. So thank you so much, Nilesh bhai. We're left with 15 minutes. What I'll do is, there's some questions from the audience. We will take up that. And I'll also request everyone in the audience, if you have specific questions for Nilesh bhai, he will be kind enough to answer your questions. So Nilesh, my first question is from Mr. Balaji. Now he's saying that multi-asset funds are coming. In fact, most of the fund houses are coming with multi-asset fund. He's saying, is it not late? What is the target return expected? Why can't we just invest in equity, debt, and gold bond instead of multi-asset fund? What is the value add?
तो मुकेश भाई, हम लोग 17 साल से मल्टी एसेट एलोकेशन चला रहे हैं. 16% कंपाउंडेड रिटर्न है. 10 रुपए का 170 रुपए के आसपास हो गया है. सो इट इज नॉट अ न्यू थिंग. इनफैक्ट जब हम लोगों को असेट एलोकेशन के लिए कहते थे तो बोला कि यार आप ज्ञान बहुत बांटते हो, खुद ही करके दिखाओ ना. तो हमने मल्टी एसेट एलोकेशन 17 साल पहले लॉन्च किया. बट फिर वो फंड ऑफ फंड के रूप में आया था, फंड के रूप में नहीं आया था. एंड देन डेट टैक्सेशन चेंज. So we have launched multi-asset allocation fund NFO recently. So multi-asset allocation is not a new concept. I had launched it when I was in iPro. Kotak had launched when I was not there. And the whole purpose here is to provide a very, very simple solution to customers. Today, people are so busy. They don't have time to look after their personal stuff, which is why this is one-stop solution. You put money in a fund and the fund manager will keep on dividing between debt, equity, and gold to create better risk-adjusted return. Equity fund may outperform asset allocation fund over a period of time, but it will come with its share of volatility. Today, if you are HNI, private bankers will provide asset allocation services. But if you are retail investors, who will provide? It will be difficult for a Mukesh bhai or a Nikhil bhai to provide same service at the bottom of the pyramid as they will provide to the top of their customers. So multi-asset allocation fund is essentially economic version of asset allocation services available to high net worth individuals.
That's so true. I think your point is valid. It's best left, the active management is best left to the right guys, the right professionals, unless, if you have bandwidth to do that. I'll take the next question from Mr. Ashok Daga. Indian economy is mostly agro-based. With current drought situation around, do you still see inflation down and growth being the same?
So only about 17 to 18% of our GDP comes from agriculture. So we are far more services dependent and manufacturing or industry dependent economy than agriculture. Second, a large part of our population is employed in agriculture. That's why agriculture becomes critical, because far more people are employed in agriculture than they are in business or services. Third, in our inflation basket, 50% weightage is given to the food prices. And food prices do get impacted by natural calamities. Now, as of today, we are seeing a scenario where Kharif crop and Rabi crop both will get impacted. Kharif crop will get impacted because some parts of northern India like Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh didn't receive as much rainfall as they should have received. And more importantly, there was uneven distribution of rains. However, the good part is that rain recovered very well in September, and the deficiency of rain from long-term average is just about 6%, not 15% or 13%, which was feared when people talked about El Nino. Our feeling is that inflation will remain under control, partly because RBI is mandated to manage inflation, partly because government is enforcing anti-hoarding rules quite stringently. And third, there is a development of cold storage chain which stores food grain. This combination of government and RBI effort will ensure that inflation remains under control despite some hit on the Kharif crop. I'm also worried about Rabi crop in southern India. When I last looked at the numbers, the water reservoir levels in southern India is 42% of its long-term average. If there's no rains in southern India, especially Kerala, part of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, we will see Rabi crop getting impacted in southern India. But again, thanks to the RBI's effort, thanks to the government's effort, we will be able to manage inflation without getting unduly stretched.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nilesh bhai, for explaining this in detail. We have more questions coming in, and I'll quickly take them. So we have Mr. Anup Dhingra, asking the questions. What's your view on Bitcoin? In last 10 or 13 years, it's the best asset class, but of course, I'm burned by last 12 months volatility. So what do you think, Nilesh bhai, asset class which have done well as a track record of more than 10 years and has been best performing? What's your view on that?
So, Mr. Dhingra, Bitcoin is like a painting. How do you value the painting? Someone will say MF Hussain painting is worth 10 crore. And someone will say कि बस ये तो 10 रुपए का भी value नहीं है. I'll be able to, copy it with someone else. Bitcoin, there is no cash flow for me to judge their value. There is no fundamental value for me to judge it. It is all in the eyes of beholder. It is in some sense greater fool theory. I will be able to sell Bitcoin to someone who is bigger fool than me and at a higher price. That's where you will go and buy. When the cycle reverses, then people sell Bitcoin. So who are we to take a judgment on Bitcoin in absence of any concrete measure to value them? My feeling is that like Diwali ki mausam mein log फेस्टिवल डेज पे जुआ खेलते हैं. बहुत लोग घर पे धनतेरस की रात को, दिवाली की रात को जुआ खेलते हैं. उसमें आप युधिष्ठिर की तरह अपने घर बार और बीवी तो नहीं लगाते, थोड़ा पैसा लगाते हैं, गया तो ठीक है, बना तो भी ठीक है. सो यू शुड ट्रीट बिटकॉइन लाइक दिवाली का जुआ. थोड़ा लगा दो, बना तो बना, नहीं बना तो नहीं बना.
That's so aptly put, Nilesh bhai. You will make money until you find a bigger fool. I think that sums up the story on Bitcoin. Next question is from Mr. Ajay Agarwal. Companies are reporting good profits. However, they have not been very optimistic, about capital expenditure. So why is that? So why are they stopping themselves from doing heavy capital expenditure?
So Nikhil bhai, दूध का जला छाछ भी फूक फूक के ही पिएगा. 2008 में all these companies went berserk on capital expenditure and then they were crushed under the debt burden. Jai Prakash Group, EMR Group, TVK Group, Lenco Group, so many groups went down because the debt burden was very, very high. I think everyone has learned from those experiences. People want to be conservative rather than aggressive. Second, we are also seeing a lot of technological changes. Today, I am making things one way. Tomorrow, 3D printing can make it another way. Today, I am using human intelligence to do certain things. Tomorrow, AI could do completely differently. I think human intelligence has discovered about 120,000 protein structures, and AI has discovered 200 million protein structures. Now, you can imagine the gap. So, disruptions are also delaying moving on to the capex expansion. And finally, when your capacity utilization is low in the 60s and 70s, you are not going to put up a new plant. Now, when capacity utilization has started reaching 75, 76, you will go and put up new plant. So combination of this experience of debt, technological disruptions, and lower utilization probably pushed people not to spend money on capex.
Thank you so much, Nilesh bhai. Thanks a lot for highlighting this. And I think technology is a big, big disruption. Everyone is worried about it. And hopefully, I think we will start living with it, with the AI, and it will only help us grow better. And let's also assume the capex starts taking place aggressively. We left with 7 minutes. I'll take last one question. I think you are the most intelligent person I have met, and the kind of knowledge bandwidth you have, the kind of clarity. A lot of time we have data information, but we are not able to connect the dots. But I think the best thing about you is that you're able to connect the dots and put it in the right perspective. So that's a known, and I think everyone, there's no challenge to that. Now, since you are the most intelligent person in the room, and I always look forward to learn from you. Mike, I have a simple question for you. As the most intelligent investor, as the most intelligent person, how are you managing your own personal money? Where are you investing? Over to you, Nilesh bhai.
Intelligence and money has no correlation, no relationship. There was a story about Peter Lynch, the legendary fund manager of Fidelity Magellan Fund. In his time, it was the world's largest equity fund. And Mr. Peter Lynch, wanted to keep his investment team on the ground. So he used to experiment with them, trying to burst their ego and make them grounded. One day he took all these fund managers to a school and said that these kids will build a portfolio, you build a portfolio, and please outperform the kids. The fund managers were furious, but Peter Lynch insisted. Now, fund managers were under pressure to do something which can outperform kids. What did they do? They went for high risk, high return bets. किड्स के लिए तो कोई टेंशन ही नहीं था, स्कूल चिल्ड्रन थे, क्या फंड मैनेजर से कंपटीशन. उन्होंने मस्ती मजाक में अपना पोर्टफोलियो बना दिया. They bought companies whose goods they were using and the brands they were familiar with. They had no access to data like fund managers. They had no experience like fund managers. No wonder after 1 year, kids handsomely outperform fund managers. So it has been proven time and again that intelligence and investing does not necessarily are correlated. Investment is all about psychology and common sense. And many a time people forget to use their common sense. In fact, I'm in such a fantastic situation that when I get 100 rupees from my company, 39 rupees is taken away by the government. Let's round it off to 40 rupees. तो 60 मेरे पास आता है. उसमें 10 रुपया ईपीएफओ लेके जाता है, 10 रुपया एनपीएस लेके जाता है. I get 40 rupees in my hand. उसमें 20 rupees स्किन इन द गेम सर्कुलर ऑफ सेबी लेके जाती है, जहां पे मुझे कुछ करना नहीं है. वो लोग ने डिसाइड कर दिया है मुझे ओवरनाइट फंड में भी लॉन्ग टर्म इन्वेस्टमेंट कराते हैं 3 साल के लिए, और इक्विटी फंड में भी लॉन्ग टर्म इन्वेस्टमेंट कराते हैं. बट दैट्स द peril of my job. I have to follow regulation. I can't argue with regulator that why should I put 3-year money in overnight fund when you yourself indicate that it should have 1-year maturity. But the law is law and you have to follow it. Effectively, I'm left with 20 rupees for myself, which my wife takes away. So I don't have to do any investment. SEBI, EPFO, NPS does everything for me.
I think Mukesh, you asked a wrong question. Now it feels we'll never ask Nilesh bhai about this personal money investment. It's a very sad story and a pain to hear this, Nilesh bhai. But I think we personally thank you for taking out time. Your opening remark of India growth story, the rising story. It's so motivating. Many a times I've done this personally. I've told Mukesh also, after hearing to you, and especially the conviction which you have on India growth story, the next day I would have gone and invested lump sum in equity. My personal money. So
Consistently, it will become SIP.
True. So that's the power, in your listening to you, because it comes with conviction. It comes with so much of thought and so much of data. information. Thank you so much for that. Plus your views on equity. It's a long-term asset. We should not definitely. We also don't look at equity as a short-term asset. So 1 year, 2 year earnings are irrelevant for us. For any equity investor, it's a very strong point again. Thank you so much, Nilesh bhai, for taking our time, and thank you all friends to participate in this Diwali special event. I hope you liked our sweet box of knowledge from the sweetest fund manager. And we all are now going to find our Mohammad Shami in the portfolio so that we can increase that return acceleration from the current pace. Uh, Thank you so much again, Nilesh bhai. Thank you, Mukesh. Thanks all the participants for joining. Wishing everyone a very, very happy and a very healthy Diwali.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Nikhil.
Nilesh bhai.
Mukesh,
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot
wishing
for your
you
time.
happy
Wishing you
Diwali.
happy Diwali. Thanks to everyone in the audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.